Hi everyone, this is Kelsey Hughes, and this is my final project for environmental issues, deforestation, biodiversity loss, and overpopulation. The topic I chose to report on was the Indian pangolin. It actually is the most trafficked animal in the world. But first, let's talk about biodiversity loss. What is biodiversity loss, and what causes it? A loss of biodiversity is just that, a loss of the diverse amount of animals, plants, insects, all of the things that make up your ecosystem. Lots of different things cause biodiversity loss. Deforestation and urbanization, agricultural expansion, all three of those things generally are to expand housing for people or agricultural space for people. Deforestation a lot of times as well, used for lumber or products like paper or pencils, anything made out of wood, right? Invasive species can cause biodiversity loss. Invasive species take up valuable resources from animals and plants that originally live in that area. They take over and cause the native animals and plants to not be able to survive there. Pollution, climate change, both of those are a huge cause of biodiversity loss. And poaching. Poaching is the illegal hunting of animals for either their meat or different parts of their body to sell for whatever kind of product would be made out of them. And poaching is actually what we're going to focus on in this presentation. Some of the consequences of biodiversity loss. A lot of things can go wrong in the ecosystem if it's thrown off balance. Animals, plants, native species can either start overpopulating and use up all the resources, or they can be driven out by invasive species or species that aren't supposed to be there. Lack of food for all the species that are there, including native and invasive species. So you're going to start losing the animals that live in that area. And a negative effect on the environment. Some of the negative effects of biodiversity loss could even include things like insect infestation, especially in the case of the pangolin, who eats insects like termites and ants that can affect human housing or the health of forest and trees that might be used for products otherwise. Like I said, I wanted to focus largely on animal trafficking in this presentation. Animal trafficking is one of the top 4 criminal activities worldwide. More than 120 million animals are sold every year. Not all of them are killed. Some of them are sold for exotic pets across countries, across the world. Other uses for these animals would be for their meat. Some are used as hunting trophies, just for people to say that they have hunted this animal. Some are used for medicinal purposes. Others are used for fashion, leather, bags, things like that. And some are just used as exotic souvenirs from a trip that someone has taken. They will choose to take an animal home with them. An estimated annual turnover of $18 to $26 billion has been tracked for animal trafficking. And only 1 out of 10 animals survive their transport from their habitat to the black market overseas. This means that 1 out of 10 animals who leave their home habitat alive and well survive the transport to wherever they are being taken. Surviving animals suffer from physical wounds and psychological trauma. A lot of these animals that are trafficked in order to be pets they don't do well as pets, even if they survive the transport to their new home. The psychological trauma of being taken from your home and moved across the world in a cage would make it very hard for them to be pets. And wild animals aren't meant to be pets, so behavioral issues usually lead to either the pet being poorly treated, locked away and just kept in a room, or they are set free in their new environment to live in the wild again, but then they either die from lack of resources that are proper for them, or they become an invasive species in that area. Pangolins, like I said, are the most trafficked animal in the world. The Indian pangolin specifically is in India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, but there are other types of pangolins that are included in this statistic. They are trafficked for their meat. They're trafficked for their scales for use in traditional medicines. And they sometimes even are trafficked across the world as exotic pets. So how can you help? How can we save these amazing animals? There are lots of different organizations that you can donate to, such as SavePangolins.org or the World Wildlife Foundation at worldwildlife.org. You can Google any type of pangolin conservation effort and find a wonderful organization to donate to. Through the World Wildlife Foundation, you can adopt a pangolin online. You get information about that pangolin, and your donation goes to help with protecting these animals from poaching efforts. If you happen to see any type of pangolin product, whether it be something made with their scales or their hide, whether it's pangolin meat or pangolins that are being sold as pets, you can report that online. And you can participate in events that donate their money to these foundations for this cause and saving the only scaled mammal in the world. This is a social economical framework showing how there are negative effects and positive effects of the pangolin surviving in its natural habitat. So basically, all of the human impact that takes place in their natural habitat, things like poaching, exotic pet trade, deforestation and agricultural expansion, habitats being encroached on by housing, all of those things are negative impact to the area where they live. Now, there's also good human impact, though. Politically, there are anti-poaching legislations in place that are trying to help save these amazing animals from going extinct. They are protected under national and international law by these policies. They also have a good ecological impact when they're just left to their own devices. They are termite and ant control because that's what they eat, that's what they feed on. And so any pangolin in a housed or a populated area with houses or buildings can help to control those termites and ants and prevent any damage to the structures. So how can we figure out a way to protect these animals? We need more education. We need more conservation efforts put towards saving them, more resources put towards illegal animal trading, and possible captive breeding programs. So in the past, some management methods that were used in one of the case studies I researched were increasing incentives for wildlife stewardship and helping to keep these animals safe, strengthening deterrence for illegal behavior such as jail time or fines, supporting non-wildlife based jobs. So for some people, the poaching is just a means to an end. That's the way they make their living. and protection of habitat. So in this specific study, there were 115 cases, and 86 reported the methods that were being used as being effective. All of these were community-based action, meaning they weren't at state or country government level. They were all based in small communities. Current management methods that I found are tracking the animals being trafficked, so lots and lots of things at customs where they go through anything that's leaving the country and try and find any type of animal product or live animal being trafficked across the world. Legislation to crack down on poachers is becoming more harsh with heavier fines and more jail time. Protection of their habitat has become priority, and anti-poaching patrols are in that habitat, making sure that no poachers are trying to take these animals from their home. Which brings us to our event. So we are going to be having a fun run, a 5K or 10K, even a 1K family run or walk. All the proceeds go to the Pangolin Crisis Fund. And there are different levels at which you can sign up. Each level comes with a finishing medal as well as its own separate swag bag. So there's t-shirts and hats and water bottles. All of these things are marked with our logo that you see here. And like I said, all the proceeds go to the Pangolin Crisis Fund, which goes toward all of those methods of protecting this animal. Thank you so much for your time and listening to this presentation. If we all work together, we can save this amazing scaled animal, the pangolin.